Oymyakon, Russia. It might not surprise you that one of the coldest places in the world is in Siberia, but the little Russian town is so cold that its residents have had to come up with unique ways of dealing with the frigid temperatures. The farming community of Oymyakon is in eastern Siberia, and its location could be the very reason why it's so cold there. Located in an area that stretches from the Ural Mountains to the Pacific and bordering the Arctic Ocean, China, North Korea, Mongolia, and Kazakhstan, Oymyakon's mountains and peninsulas help to make it bone-chillingly cold. It's also located on the banks of the Indigirka River, which is made entirely of permafrost. That's right, the ground there is permanently frozen and covered with snow and ice all year round. In fact, Siberia takes up 76% of the surface of Russia. No wonder the country has such a chilly reputation. If you're not a fan of such conditions, you might want to visit somewhere more tropical. The winters there last 9 months and the climate is harsh. Even in the summer months, the extreme subpolar conditions only get up to a shocking negative 59 degrees Celsius. Still, even with these crazy conditions, just under 500,000 people call the area home. They also have some strict rules about going outside. When the temperature goes below negative 52 degrees Celsius, kids are kept home from school to avoid the risk of frostbite. But believe it or not, there are still some fun things to do in Oymyakon. Reindeer and cow herding are staples in the small town. And they also host the Cold Pole Festival every winter, with reindeer races, dog sledding, and ice fishing. But be prepared for rustic conditions if you happen to go there. With such cold temperatures, many of the houses don't have plumbing to avoid frozen pipes. Maybe life in Oymyakon isn't so bad if you have the right winter gear. But be warned, this town that lies just 450 kilometers from the Arctic Circle is a chilly one, to say the least.
The Bridgewater Triangle. The Bridgewater Triangle is a smaller, lesser-known version of the Bermuda Triangle. It's a section of land about 200 square miles inside southeastern Massachusetts. It's a triangle between the towns of Abington, Rehoboth, and Freetown. All kinds of wild and unbelievable things are said to occur inside the Bridgewater Triangle. The area is basically a paranormal vortex with everything from alien sightings to poltergeists, great balls of fire flying through the sky, and even Bigfoot-type creatures lurking in the wilderness. Oh yeah, and there have been Thunderbird sightings here too, with people claiming to spot flying creatures that look like pterodactyls soaring across the sky. Even the Norton Police Sergeant, Thomas Downey, witnessed these incredible mythical birds in the sky. To be honest, there are so many supernatural occurrences here that it's hard to believe more people don't know about it. Not far off Route 24, creepy and horrific mutations and alleged animal sacrifice were discovered in the Freetown Fall River State Forest. For many years, it's been believed to be the site of strange rituals, not just animal sacrifices, but also human murders that were possibly committed by satanic cults. Sadly, the forest is also the site of many suicides, which adds even more to the sinister atmosphere. People claim to see the ghosts sitting on rocks, and sometimes even dancing. There are legends of Native American curses, and some even say there's a swamp monster called the Pukwudgie. Nobody knows why this particular part of Massachusetts is so creepy, but if the locals are to be believed, the entire area is a hotbed for the supernatural. Nazca Lines. The Nazca Lines have been a subject of mystery for almost 100 years now. You can find the lines only 200 miles away from Lima, Peru, a popular tourist attraction now. These are not just your average lines in the sand. This desert features 300 geometric figures and 70 animal and plant designs. Some of the lines stretch even as long as 30 miles, and the designs are as big as 50 to 120 feet. Even if you cross one of these lines at Nazca, you wouldn't be able to tell what shape it creates. This is the main reason why the lines have remained hidden in plain sight for so long. The shapes are not recognizable from eye level and can only be seen from a plane's point of view. Now, with drones becoming more and more common, newer shapes have also been discovered. But with this discovery came an even bigger question. What purpose did the Nazca Lines serve? For many decades, it was believed the lines were used as astronomical calendars. The sand in the desert is a deep rust color due to oxidation, so when you remove the top 12 to 15 inches, you can find light-colored soil. That's how the Nazca people made all these designs. Since the area receives very scarce rainfall, the lines made back in AD 700 are in fairly good condition, even today. Recent discoveries indicate that the lines were with the purpose of asking the gods for water and fertility in the desert area, while some others might have been used to mark territories. But even now, researchers are still assuming the use of these lines and how the makers made such intricate designs at large scales. Perhaps they were made by someone out of this world?
Astana, Kazakhstan. Blame it on the endlessly vast landscape of Astana, Kazakhstan for its frigid temperatures, surrounded on all sides by desert as far as the eye can see, and with hardly any trees. It's no wonder the city saw record low 32 degrees Celsius in its capital city one November. The cold snap forced schools to close for almost a week, and its 750,000 residents had to retreat inside until the aggressively cold weather passed. The cold spell made it the second coldest capital city in the world after Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia, but it wasn't all that bad. Astana is known for its wildly futuristic metal and glass buildings, including a glass pyramid, a building that looks as though the White House was plunked down in the middle of Disney World, and even a tower shaped like a vase with a ball at the very top. It got its wealth from oil production, and the Soviets have used it to test vehicles used in their space program. They've also tested nuclear weapons there, making much of the vast desert radioactive. It didn't always have a futuristic look though, and it wasn't always called Astana. In 1997, the capital city was moved to what was once called Akmola, an empty patch of land on the Ishim River. That's when developers came up with a master plan for the futuristic city, renaming it Astana. Even with its strange beginnings, the city looks like the picture-perfect winter wonderland, with the trees covered in frost and snow, and the frozen river the perfect fairy tale getaway. Just make sure you bundle up first.
Hegra is a mysterious ancient city located in the desert north of Saudi Arabia that has gone untouched for thousands of years. Giant boulders the size of buildings and rocky outcrops beautifully carved and with classical-style columns poke out of the sands like lovely scattered seeds. Hegra was once a major international trading hub, but it was abandoned 2,000 years ago and hasn't really gotten much attention since. It looks so similar to the more famous destination of Petra in neighboring Jordan that you might not even be able to tell them apart. But this shouldn't be a huge surprise. After all, the two sites are only a couple of 100 miles apart. They were also built by the same people. It was the Nabatean kingdom who constructed both Petra and Hegra before they vanished from the pages of history forever. The Nabateans are one of the most intriguing civilizations that most people have never even heard of. They were master merchants who dwelled in the desert and controlled all the trade moving through Arabia, interacting with the kingdoms of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Syria, along with all the other major players in the Mediterranean. They were the #1 suppliers of frankincense and myrrh, which was highly prized throughout the world for religious ceremonies. However, they were destroyed in the 1st century AD by the expanding Roman Empire. Eventually, over a period of just a few hundred years, the Nabateans went extinct, and their ancient desert cities, like Hegra and Petra, were abandoned. Khatchabib. The Nazca lines aren't the only ones of their kind baffling archaeologists. A new map of an ancient wall across Jordan has left many puzzled over who built it and why. The wall that extends over 93 miles is called Khatchabib and was first discovered in 1948 by Sir Alec Kirkbride, a British diplomat. Much like the Nazca lines, even Khatchabib was discovered from an airplane. Kirkbride described what he saw as a stone wall running for no obvious purpose across the country, and thus the mystery of the wall began. Researchers have been using aerial photography to determine the remnants of the wall. So far, some sections have been found where the two walls run side by side, and other sections where the wall begins to branch off. Though the wall is in ruins now, even if it was in pristine condition, it wouldn't have been taller than 3.3 feet. Along the Khatchabib, the archaeologists also found the remains of an estimated 100 so-called towers, measuring 2 to 4 meters in diameter. The towers might have been used as a secure place to sleep overnight or as watch posts. Some maybe were places where hunters could hide. The low height and narrow width proved that the wall wasn't meant for defense. The pottery found at the towers has given scientists a timeline of 312 BC to 106 AD. Many believe that the wall wasn't the work of a large kingdom, but of local communities living there. If it is true, then the Khatchabib is probably one of those rare monuments that document the skill and creativity of smaller communities rather than large royal empires.
Clink Weather Station, Greenland. Looking to take a break from the summer heat? Take a trip to the North Pole where the coldest spot in the Arctic can be found. At the Clink Weather Station, the temperature was recorded at negative 69.6 degrees Celsius on December 22, 1991, 0.8 degrees Celsius below the previous record. The weather station that recorded this low temperature was part of a measurement network operated by the University of Wisconsin in Greenland in the early 1990s. If you thought that's bad, imagine being part of the team who had to travel by snowmobile to install the automatic weather stations used to track the frigid temperatures. Have you ever been to Greenland? What did you think about it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Wondering why it's so cold there? Chalk it up to the dry, cold continental climate in the middle of the Greenland ice sheet. The coldest spot is in the middle of the mainland. Located at 3,105 meters above sea level, the station overtook the top spot for the coldest place on Earth from the Russian towns of Verkhoyansk and Oymyakon. Getting the reading to verify the station's status as the coldest place on Earth took some work though. The initial researchers who took part in the study had to be tracked down so they could verify their date. After checking the information and making sure the probes were calibrated properly to measure the temperatures, the World Meteorological Organization verified the readings. After doing so, the Clink Weather Station was once again crowned the winner of the official cold record.
Haunted Hawaii. Hawaii is not just a gorgeous island paradise, it's also a little bit haunted. Two of the most haunted places in all of Hawaii are located around the area of East Oahu, and it's very likely you have never heard of them before. One of these haunted venues is a bridge, while the other is a popular mall. According to Oahu locals, it's the 16th Avenue Bridge that's haunted. The haunting started after a little girl was killed in a hit-and-run incident. Now people who walk near the bridge in the early hours of the evening claim to witness a little girl reaching for their hand, trying to make it safely across the bridge. But by the time they realize what they're looking at, the little girl's haunting apparition is gone. The second haunted place is at a mall in Kahala, where visitors sometimes witness a ghost with no face loitering in department stores and even bathrooms. Employees at the mall have reported that the ghost asked them for help, but when they turn to answer, she has no face, and then she's gone. And so you see, Hawaii is more than beaches and sunshine. It's also full of ghosts and horrors. Did you ever think such a wonderful place could have such terrifying features? Next time you visit this tropical paradise, are you going to check out these places? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Secret caves under Giza pyramids. The pyramids of Giza have become synonymous with the lost world of Egyptian royals. But what lies beneath the pyramids is even more intriguing. An incredible maze of twisting tunnels, open rooms, and caves lies underneath one of the Earth's greatest wonders. According to the writings of a British explorer, the caves are not filled with hidden treasures and riches, but with bats and venomous spiders. So it's better to drop any plans of exploring the caves yourself. The underground complex was found in the limestone bedrock beneath the pyramid field at Giza. According to the British explorer Andrew Collins, the cave consists of untouched archaeology. He discovered the cave's entrance after reading through an old diplomat's memoirs from the 1800s. Doesn't this sound like the plot of an adventure movie? Well, fiction is based in truth. The diplomat was a British consul general named Henry Salt. In his memoirs, he wrote about how he investigated an underground system of catacombs at Giza in 1817 in the company of Italian explorer Giovanni Caviglia. The entrance was through a crack in an unrecorded tomb west of the Great Pyramid. Collins explored the cave system as much as he could before the air became too thin to continue. Egyptian authorities are unwilling to share what has been discovered beneath Giza with the general public, which piques curiosity even more. Many believe that the cave system was an underground city and still houses many ancient relics. Collins believes that the planning and development of the pyramids might have been done from there. We might never know. What do you think these tunnels were used for? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you liked the video so far, be sure to subscribe.
East Antarctica Plateau. Wondering how to earn the reputation as one of the coldest places anywhere on Earth? It takes the perfect combination of clear skies and dry air to get the temperature so low. In several spots of the East Antarctic Plateau, the conditions were perfect for two research scientists from the University of Colorado to record the coldest temperatures on Earth. In 2013, Dr. Ted Scambos and his colleagues analyzed data from several Earth-observing satellites to find that temperatures on the East Antarctic Plateau were colder than those recorded at Vostok Station, a Russian weather station in central Antarctica. They found that nearly 100 other sites also reached surface temperatures of minus 98 degrees Celsius, even though the recordings were taken from places hundreds of kilometers apart on the windswept landscape. The lowest temperatures were all mostly the same. Using special instruments to measure snow and air temperatures in the very coldest places through the winter, scientists figured out that the dry air traps some of the heat from the sun and sends it back to the surface, which means the land cools a lot slower and the trapped water vapor blocks the loss of heat on the surface. Being at such a high elevation and so close to the South Pole, the East Antarctic Plateau shows exactly why it's one of the coldest regions on Earth.
The Egyptian Black Desert. The Egyptian Black Desert is one of the strangest and most unexpected places in the world. To be quite honest, it almost looks like the surface of Mars. The desert here is an expansive landscape of black sandy plains, black mountains of dust, and strange black rock formations. And while the desert isn't home to any mummies that we know of, it does have a deeper history, geologically speaking. It goes back 180 million years to the Jurassic period, when the desert was beneath the sea. But when intense volcanic activity started changing the Earth, this land rose as a type of volcanic crater covered in veined marble. It was the volcanic activity that turned the landscape black. But other than rocks and sand, there are some unique things to be found here. The remains of one of the largest dinosaurs in the world was found in the Black Desert 20 years ago, called the Paralitanstromeri. This incredible beast was upwards of 59 tons and roughly 85 feet in length. There could be other titanic dinosaurs hidden here under the black sand, but nobody has really done much to look for them in recent years. Halcephliene Hypogeum, Malta. If you ever plan a Mediterranean holiday to Malta, don't skip out on this ancient underground cemetery. Visiting ancient graves might not be everyone's cup of tea, but you don't want to miss this incredible historical wonder. The Hypogeum was built in 3600 BC by the Greeks, using only flint and stone tools. There are 3 levels carved in stone. It was discovered back in 1902, when masons uncovered an opening to the chamber while laying the foundation for a house. It took 80 years to restore the site, and now only 80 tourists are allowed to enter the fragile monument in a day to preserve its integrity. A few bones are left at the site, along with a number of small altars with offerings, such as carved animals, beads, and other sculptures that earlier Maltese residents must have left behind after visiting the loved ones' graves. Almost 7,000 bodies were once buried there. Other than the chambers for the dead, the site also has many interesting rooms. There is one main chamber with rock carved into rectangles and curves, similar to what you'd find at a Greek temple. It may have been a room for exhibiting statues or for storing the dead until they could be buried in other locations. The site also has an oracle room with ceilings that feature red ochre designs, resembling the Tree of Life pattern. With so many intricate details, it's a wonder how the Greeks were able to create such a site with the limited tool capabilities.
Snag, Yukon. Wondering what it's like to step outside on the coldest day of the year in Canada? Well, local residents of Snag, Yukon territories found out pretty quickly, and they were stunned by what happened. When a particularly nasty deep freeze blew into the region, residents found that just exhaling made the air hiss and freeze with each breath. The record low came in 1947, when frigid air from Siberia blanketed the area, and the thermometer dropped to minus 63 degrees Celsius, creating a risk for frostbite, hypothermia, and death for 16 men at the local weather station on February 3, 1947. It also ended up being the coldest day in Canadian history. Snag is located about 465 kilometers northwest of Whitehorse. It was first settled during the Klondike Gold Rush. Some think the small community got its name from members of the U.S. Geological Survey who visited the area in 1898, who were inspired by the dead trees that seemed to choke the area. But hissing breath isn't the only strange thing to happen in the remote location. The rapid temperature drop makes sound waves bend back toward the ground instead of escaping upwards. That means residents can hear conversations more than 6 kilometers away. Not such a great thing if you happen to be gossiping about your fellow neighbors.
Las Pozas, another one of the weirdest places that you most likely never even heard of, is called Las Pozas, located in the thick Mexican jungle. It's a surrealist garden that was dreamt up by Edward James, an eccentric collector of art from the 20th century. When he arrived in Xilitla, Mexico, near the end of the 1940s, he was captivated by the amazing, lush, and beautiful landscape and decided to build his home there. He also went on to create a unique sculptural heaven in the jungle that some have compared to the crazy surrealism of Salvador Dali's artwork. Columns that look like giant flowers, dramatic gates, Gothic arches, pavilions with multiple levels, and lovely spiral staircases to nowhere float in mid-air as if they were an invitation to the horizon. Today, the sculpture garden remains standing in the jungle, seemingly defying all architectural labels. It's a strange glimpse of both fantasy and reality, a place you might accidentally mistake for the Garden of Eden. It's definitely not somewhere you want to miss on your next trip to Mexico. Talltanic, Turkey. Human beings evolved a lot over the years, from the way we look to the way we live. But Talltanic gives us a glimpse into how it all began. Almost 9,000 years ago, human beings from the Stone Age decided to settle down and build homes on the bank of a now dried up river. The homes were built back to back, without any doors or windows. So how did they go in and out of the homes, you might be wondering? It's pretty simple. The doors were made on the roofs of the homes. After being discovered, the interiors of the homes still had some wall paintings and figurines left. We're guessing humans have always been into home decor. After being hidden for millennia, 60 years ago, a team of archaeologists began exploring 2 small hills on the Konya Plain. Since then, the site has become one of the most important early human settlements to have ever been recorded. The settlement gives us a glimpse into the beginnings of agriculture as we know it. The homes also served as graves, as the residents were found buried under their homes. The oven and hearth were placed right below the entrance, which also served as a vent for smoke. Residents cooked food in this part of the main room. Newborns and children who died were also buried under the hearth.
Lake Vostok. Lake Vostok in eastern Antarctica is a picturesque place if you don't mind a wide expanse of snow as far as the eye can see. 150 miles long and 31 miles across, it sits beneath 2.5 miles of solid ice close to the center of East Antarctica and became known as having the coldest temperature ever measured on Earth's surface. It's hard to reach, but its sediments contain a unique record of Antarctica's climate before the ice caps arrived, which has made it a hit spot for researchers looking to record what prehistoric life was like in Lake Vostok. Scientists discovered Vostok's existence 30 years ago, when radar and seismographs allowed them to piece together a map. Researchers from America, Britain, Europe, New Zealand, and Russia want to explore Lake Vostok's depths with robots. The exploration could begin in less than 5 years, but some think it could change the lake forever and destroy what has made it unique. Some believe Vostok should be left alone, but scientists believe Vostok's life forms could provide new insights into the young Earth's spectacular ecological crises and illuminate the possibilities of life farther off, in a vast ocean in Europa 483 million miles from the Sun. NASA is one group with an interest in Lake Vostok, and they've been adapting instruments first developed to explore hot depths of ocean floor volcanic vents for use in the isolated waters of Vostok. The engineers are also trying to come up with a way for the probe to see beneath the surface using deep water cameras that can operate in conditions of extreme pressure and cold. The ice beneath Vostok Station is like opening a history book, with each core a vertical record of conditions at a particular point in time. Scientists started drilling into this record in the 1970s, and in 1995, a workshop was held to decide if continued drilling made sense. Glaciologists wanted to drill down to the lake to get a long-term climate record, but the rest of the Antarctic science community was concerned that drilling down to the lake would damage the biology trapped there. They went ahead with the project, drilling a borehole into an ice sheet so they could take samples of this refrozen water. They found some of the bacteria were still able to function, and they're part of a viable ecosystem indigenous to the lake. With the debate still raging over whether the risk of drilling beneath the ice sheet is worth the reward, only time will tell before all of Lake Vostok's secrets will be revealed.
Shahi Kila. The Shahi Kila was once a majestic palace in India, located near the Tapti River in Burhanpur. Almost nothing remains today, except for the palace's crumbling ruins. Locals call it a labyrinth because the architecture is so strange. It was originally built by the Faruqi rulers, who dominated land from 1382 until the Mughal Empire assimilated them in 1601. The main attraction of Shahi Kila is the royal bath, which miraculously is still almost entirely intact. It's said that the emperor's wife took luxurious baths here in water scented with saffron and rose petals. The ceiling has ancient paintings on it, with one of the paintings supposedly being the inspiration for the Taj Mahal. In fact, the Taj Mahal was supposed to be built in Burhanpur, but it never happened. The chosen site is still a vacant plot of land beside the river, not far from the ruined palace of Shahi Kila. Pumapunku, Bolivia. Pumapunku is a large temple complex situated near Tiwanaku in Bolivia. Though the origin of the temple is still a mystery, archaeologists believe the complex may have been built by the Tiwanaku Empire between 300 and 1000 AD. The most intriguing thing about Pumapunku is not its mysterious origins, but its even more brilliant stonework. The terraced earthen mound was initially faced with megalithic blocks, each weighing several tens of tons. The red sandstones were cut in such a way that they perfectly interlocked together. The technique and precision used to build the monument leaves visitors astounded. The rocks are so perfectly placed together that you can't even slide a razor blade in between them. It is so precisely made that it's hard to believe the temple was constructed thousands of years ago without the help of any machines. Back then, human beings hadn't even invented the wheel. The stones weigh as much as 131 tons, and some are even 25.6 feet long. The precision of each block and the angle at which they were cut indicates mass production took place. But could it even been possible back then? The sandstones were brought up a steep incline from a quarry near Lake Titicaca, almost 10 kilometers away. How did they transport it? The craftsmanship, materials, and techniques used to build Pumapunku all point towards a much more advanced civilization than we could ever imagine.
Mongolia. Mongolian winters aren't really a walk in the park, but if you're an adventurer at heart, then you'll be happy to know that this country is a beauty to behold, even in its harsh, frozen state. Mongolia's climate is unbelievably hard to predict and erratic. It has long, frigid winters where the temperatures can reach -50 degrees Celsius, and short, relatively warm summers where the minimum temperature at night easily drops below -35 degrees Celsius. Mongolia is landlocked between middle latitudes with high altitudes between 3,300 to 4,900 feet. With below freezing temperatures and harsh climate conditions, even the livestock and other animals have a hard time keeping warm, and many freeze to death despite their owners working hard to keep them alive. But life there isn't all that bad. Mongolians take advantage of the cold weather with festivities during the winter season, including dog sledding, where visitors can cross frozen lakes and rivers. They also have a winter ice festival in Kovsgol Lake with an international skating marathon, horse sleigh races, and a local competition of sumo. Another popular spot is Gorky Terij National Park, where you can catch a breathtaking glimpse of its granite stone mountains towering out of the snow-covered valleys. And if you want to experience the Mongolian camel culture and get to know the herders' cultural heritage, you can head to the Camel Festival in Buglan Village. Sure, being one of the coldest places on Earth has its challenges, but Mongolians are a prime example of people who make the best of their situation.
Bet Gurvin Maresha. Bet Gurvin Maresha is a mysterious archaeological park that encompasses 3 ancient sites: that of Maresha, Bet Gurvin, and a mysterious fortress used by the Crusaders. The region was first settled during the Iron Age, but later emerged as a major city. Alexander the Great conquered Maresha, which was then colonized by Greek soldiers and left under Hellenistic rule. In the year 40 BC, the Parthians showed up and destroyed the city of Maresha, which ultimately led to the establishment of Bet Gurvin as the main Jewish town in the area. When there was a Jewish revolt against the Roman rule in AD 66, and the inhabitants of Bet Gurvin were slaughtered one by one. Still, the city bounced back, re-establishing itself and growing until the 7th century when the Muslim forces showed up and took the city over. But it was soon annexed to the Kingdom of Jerusalem. A Crusader castle was built in the year 1134, and soon after, when the area fell under Muslim control again, the castle, the city, and everything else was burned to the ground. As you can tell, this place has quite a bit of history, but surprisingly, there's actually a lot of the old structures left. Archaeologists have even discovered a labyrinth of subterranean caves covering an area of 741 acres. Many of these caves date back to the original settlements at Mauritius, with at least 3,500 rooms, tombs, and chambers hidden underground. Maeshowe. Maeshowe is a prehistoric chambered cairn in the UK. This ancient site is surrounded by a ditch, and radiocarbon dating indicates it was built thousands of years ago in 2700 BC. At first glance, you would just dismiss it as a mound of soil and grass, but what lies beneath will knock your socks off. The site was discovered in 1861. Before the discovery, Maeshowe was once conical, with a deep depression in the top. It had a diameter of around 100 feet and stood 36 feet high. After its discovery, the cairn was cared for by the government, and an outer mound was created with a concrete roof to protect what lies below. Researchers believed that the mound sat on top of a Neolithic house. In 1996, a socket hole on a platform was found on one end of the mound, and it added more weight to the theory. Archaeologists also believe that the ditch around Maeshowe was supposed to be filled with water to separate the living from the dead, like the entrance to another world. But the most baffling discovery so far has been the midwinter alignment. For a few days each year, as the midwinter sun sets for the day, its last rays shine through Maeshowe's entranceway and illuminate the wall of the central chamber. Was it a planned part of Maeshowe's construction, or a beautiful accident? We'll never know the truth. Seir Gibe. Seir Gibe is an old Roman fortress that you had no idea even existed. It's located in Anglesey, Wales. You see, before the Romans made it all the way to Wales and conquered it, Anglesey was a sacred site for the Druids, who held important religious ceremonies here. As the Roman forces were displacing people by the thousands in the United Kingdom, many of them ran away to Anglesey. By the time the Romans finally got to this place, it was full of mystical Druids and escaping migrants from all over the island. Some historians believe that the Romans went all the way to Anglesey simply to eradicate the Druids, while others say they went to pillage the copper mines. Whatever the case, they established a large fort in the year 77 AD. It was huge, able to hold 1,000 auxiliary infantrymen. Nobody knows exactly what went on in the years after the fortress was built, other than that the Romans plowed through Wales and took whatever they wanted. Then, by the year 393 AD, the fort was abandoned and the Romans had all but left. What do you think really happened here? Easter Island. Easter Island is a Chilean island in the southern Pacific Ocean, known for its stonehead statues called moai. The statues have baffled archaeologists for hundreds of years. Who built them, and how did they place such huge statues around the island, or get them there in the first place? Years later, finally, researchers seem to have the answers to a few of these questions. After analyzing the numerous locations of these statues and their megalithic platforms called ahu, researchers have found a common link. Apparently, the statues are placed near sources of fresh water. Researchers also believe that the size and quality of these statues gave the inhabitants of the island an idea about how good the quality of the resource was. There are over 300 such statues around the sparsely populated island. The first cluster of these statues was made back in the 13th century. Before this recent discovery, it was believed the statues denoted the ancestors of the islanders. Though the theory might still hold true, the location of the statues was a big question mark. The huge breakthrough came when researchers realized that there were no rivers or streams on the island, so the inhabitants had to get the water from somewhere. After investigating each ahu location, they figured out that the island had aquifers. To make things easier for themselves, the islanders had placed these statues to mark the aquifers. But the mystery of how the statues were created still remains. Recopolis. The Recopolis is located near the small Spanish village of Zorita de los Danes in Guadalajara. It's one of the only archaeological sites in the entire world that has ruins left over by the legendary Visigoths, the defeaters of the Roman Empire in 378 AD. The city of Recopolis was built in the year 578 by the most important Visigoth monarch in their history, King Luivigild. The Visigoth kingdom at the time went all the way from the edge of southern France to the Iberian Peninsula. The city of Nicopolis was to be made from scratch, a completely new city that would be the center of the new Visigoth Empire. It was complete with palaces, workshops, artisan stores, an impressive aqueduct system, and defensive walls, the works. But archaeologists don't know everything about the city. The problem is that in the year 711, Muslim forces invaded Nicopolis and defeated the Visigoths. They then dismantled the great city and used the stones to build their own city a few miles up the road. Port-Bajin, an ancient monument on a small island in Lake Terrakol in Siberia, has been the source of mystery for many years. The ruins of the site gave away very little information on when it was and why it was built. Was it a fortress or a palace? Researchers didn't have a definite answer to these questions for a long time. But a tree used in the foundation of the monument gave away its secrets. In 2012, a team of Japanese researchers found there were spikes of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere back in 775 AD and 995 AD. The carbon in the air was soaked up by the trees around the globe at the time, and after carbon dating the wood used in the construction of Port-Bajin, it was found that the monument was built around 777 AD. With this information, the mystery was solved because historical records could tell the rest of the story. A ruler of the Uyghur kingdom had converted to Manichaeism, a gnostic faith, and made it the state religion. Many of his state subjects were unhappy with the imposition of the new religion. So, 2 years after the foundation of Port-Bajin was laid, the ruler was murdered. But what purpose did Port-Bajin really serve? It was not a palace, nor a fortress. It was a monastery, built to practice Manichaeism. Since the ruler was murdered, the monument was never used. Underwater pyramids in Portugal. The lost city of Atlantis has been the focal point of many movies and books, but a recent discovery by a Portuguese fisherman might prove that it really existed. You may have already heard the myth of how Atlantis sunk to the bottom of the sea after falling out with the gods. Since then, Atlantis has always been treated as a mythical place, but this discovery might prove that it actually existed. A local sailor in Portugal's Azores Island was looking for good fishing grounds when his digital scanning devices caught a glimpse of the hidden pyramid. Soon after that, Navy crews were called in to inspect it. The pyramid was located in an area of the Atlantic Ocean that had been covered by water for nearly 20,000 years. The last great ice age of the Northern Hemisphere started 2,000 years before that. Researchers believe that whoever built the pyramid must have lived before the ice age happened. The pyramid is around 60 meters high and has a base of 8,000 square meters. Archaeologists in Portugal have found proof that indicates humans lived on the Azores Island even before the Portuguese discovered them back in 1427. It also coincides with the idea that there existed an ancient civilization that built the pyramid even before the Ice Age. Could the Azores and its ancient civilization be the lost city of Atlantis? What do you think it was? Subscribe to our channel if you liked the video, and don't forget to ring the bell icon to never miss a video from us.